What's up, car people? Today we're going to change the brakes on a 2006 Toyota Corolla. Alright, here we go. Alright, we got the wheel off and now we can see the caliper here. We can see the brake pad is worn down pretty significantly. I don't know if you can see that. And it's good to check when you're under here if the brake line looks wet at all, to make sure there's no fluid leaking. And also we can go up and check the brake fluid. So we look in here, we can see that it's full about up to here. So brake fluid is just about full. It says max here and min is down here. So now we're going to remove the two bolts on the back side of this caliper here, as indicated by these arrows. All right, so we're gonna get the lower bolt off. So these bolts here are 14 millimeter. There we go. Those are the bolts. So now we can just slide the caliper right off. It might be a little tight. There it goes. And you can see it. See it right there. We got the little cylinder here that presses on the back pad, and then these two teeth here press on the front pad. So be careful not to let it hang by the brake line. We're going to place it on top of the rotor like this because we don't want to damage that brake line. So I'm going to put my gloves and my mask on just to keep my hands clean, maybe a little bit safer, and so I don't have to inhale any brake dust that's going to be flying through the air. Also, the brake dust is probably not a big deal. You know, the mask might be overkill, so you don't have to worry about that, I think. All right, now we're just going to slip these brake pads off. And there's this little metal hardware here, these stainless steel hardware, and I got new ones in the kit, and we can actually see here, these are brake pads. They've still got a little bit of meat left on them. So now we're going to take the back one off. So we can see the brake pad here is a little bit at an angle, worn at an angle. So I believe this means that the caliper might be pushing more down on one side than the other. Let me actually check the box and see what it says. So these are our new pads here. They're ceramic pads, and they come with the metal hardware that's going to go on the brake calipers, as well as some brake grease, which I'm not sure if that's the same as caliper grease. And then we got the 4 pads. So on the new brake box, we can see that this tapered wear pattern is indicating, it says the worn out caliper bushings or worn out caliper hardware. So since the tapering is not so dramatic, I'm probably just going to not worry about it. So another thing we can do for safety is just roll the tire underneath the car, since we don't have any jack stands. So we're going to replace these stainless steel hardwares. Now, in the video I watched, they said that you don't really need to. I mean, these are really in fine condition. They just have a little dust on them. If you wipe it off, you can see that they're still shiny. But I'll replace them anyway. It's probably good practice to always put the new parts on, especially if you get them for free. So there you go. That was not hard. Now I have a little bit of brake grease here, and we're going to use this old toothbrush to apply it to just this little tooth here, or this thing. We want to be careful to not get any grease on the pad, because it will decrease the braking power of the brake pad. It's gonna oil up the surface between the rotor and the brake pad. So don't be, just to get a little thin layer on the this tooth here, and then we're going to put a little on the little metal brackets as well. And also we were going to be careful there to not get any on the rotor and not use too much, so that a clump of it is going to migrate onto the brake pad or the rotor eventually. So again, these brake pads are also all identical. We don't need to worry about which one is going to go on which side. I'm going to apply a little brake grease to the toothbrush here, and be careful not to use your everyday toothbrush unless you don't have any other options. Okay, now we're going to just, I put a little much there. I said don't use that much. I'm going to rub it in. Just, I don't want to get a big clump on anything. So I spread it out here into the bristles. Okay, and I'm going to be careful to not touch the surface of the pad with my greasy fingers. Again, just a little, apply it a little bit on there. I think the thin layer should be fine. Now we're going to do the other one. There we go, just a little light coat. I'm actually going to take these back off and apply the grease directly to the brackets here, so I don't have to risk coming in contact with the rotor. Alright, now I'll dry my fingers off and put the pads back on, or put the new pads on. Alright, we got the one side on. Alright, we're gonna try and get the other side. Okay, so I put the old brackets back on because I thought they might be easier to mount the pads on, and the front was definitely easier. Let's see if the back goes on easier. And there it goes. And I greased up the old brackets with the brake grease, even though I didn't film it, but I promise I did it. All right, so now we're going to, so this is the caliper. We have to compress the cylinder here because it gets pushed out, so it's not going to fit on. I'll show you here. If we try and put it back on, it's very much, it's almost half an inch too far in. You can see where the caliper is going too far into the brake pad. So I'm going to use a C-clamp. There's actually a special tool to do what I'm about to do, but I'm going to put the back of the C-clamp on this flat spot, being careful not to get it on the any of the smaller parts, just the flat surface. I'm going to loosen the C-clamp, and then I'm going to put one of the old brake pads on the caliper, and I'll be able to compress the caliper that way. I'm going to put the old caliper back in here, and that will give me something to press against on this side. Tighten the C-clamp down, and then we can see the pad is starting to go back. And actually, if you've recently topped off your brake fluid, it's possible that you overflow the brake fluid. So we're going to keep compressing it, and we'll see here up above that the brake fluid has risen from before it was a little bit lower. I think it's going up now, and we just want to keep an eye on it so that it doesn't overflow. So we're going to keep pushing the caliper in. So now the cylinder is flush with the housing. So we can take it off now and slide it on. So it'll slide right on now, and there it is. And we can push these little piston kind of things. Make sure there's a little slot that you can see there. They should be rotated so they fit into their slot correctly. And then that's it. We can mount the bolts again and tighten them down. And we can see that the even when the bolts are almost all the way tightened down, the brake caliper is still loose. Since we clamped it down all the way, we're going to need to go in. Once we get the other side done too, we'll go in the car and we'll compress or depress the brake pad several times. We're going to pump the brakes, so that otherwise the first time or the first couple of times you try and go out and drive on it, it's not going to brake, and then that's not good. All right, so now I'll tighten them down again with the we're going counterclockwise here, and tighten on this one at the bottom as well. Okay, and that should be good. Now I'm getting the wheel back on, and we'll let the car back down and go work on the other side. Don't forget to go and pump your brakes once you get both of the, or all four of the brake pads installed. So that's how you replace the brake pads on a 2006 Toyota Corolla. Good luck out there.